If you like our content, please like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get alerts when we introduce new videos. This video demonstrates how to add a PSK wireless LAN to a venue and describes some of the advanced features that can be configured on the network. To add a network, I would click on Add Network, and I would give the network a name, and I'll call this one Foundry Guest. I'll just put Foundry. And under the type of networks, we have a number of different networks that we can do. In this case, I'm going to select PreShared Key PSK, and it requires you just to enter a passphrase that you have defined for the network to connect. So I'll select Next. Here, I'll put in my PSK passphrase, and it has to be a minimum of 8 characters. Now I'm going to use something simple because I'm using a demo here, so I'm just going to put in a simple passphrase. The security protocol is WPA2, that's recommended, but you do have a choice of WPA or WEP. WPA2 is recommended. Then I would click on Next, and that'll take me to the venue, so I have to select the venue that I want, and in this case, I'm going to put it on the Foundry venue. We have some other options up here. I could activate on all venues, or I could deactivate on all venues. Under the APs, if I click on all APs, I can select all of them, or if I wanted to select a specific group, if I had a group set up, I could do that as well. So we're just going to go ahead and take the default. Under the VLAN, it gives me the default, and then I could select the radio bands. Maybe there's a particular reason I want only 5 gigahertz or 2.4 gigahertz. So I could do that, but by default, it's both 2.4 and 5. So I'll cancel on that. Under the radios, if I wanted to customize my radios, I could select either 2.4 or 5 gigahertz from that menu as well. So we'll take the default on that. And then we'll click Next, and this will take me to my summary screen. And at the bottom here, we have some advanced network settings. The default VLAN is 1. If I wanted to change that, I could do that. Under load control, the maximum rate is unlimited, but I could set that per AP or per client. If I selected per AP, then I could set some upload and download parameters here. So we're going to put that back on unlimited. The maximum clients per radio can be adjusted. By default, it's 100, but it could go up to 512, or it could go lower. Load balancing is on by default, as well as load balancing between the APs, which is a good thing, but there may be a specific situation where you don't want to do that. And then under access control, I can set up a policy, and I can allow connections. That's the default, but if I wanted to block some connections, I could enter in some MAC addresses down here, and I could just click on Add, and I could enter some MAC addresses that would be separated by commas if I had particular devices that I didn't want the user to be able to connect to. So we'll cancel out on that. Under traffic policy, I could set up a traffic policy. By default, you allow all the traffic. But if I wanted to block some traffic, once again, I could add a rule here. I could give myself a description. I could set the protocol if I wanted to allow or block specific protocols. If I wanted to set subnets or specific IP addresses, I could do any of that. Destination, by default, it's any IP address, but I could also specify this as well, or if I wanted to specify a port number. So these are some of the advanced features that I can help to set up. So a few other things down here. We have Wi-Fi calling. By default, Wi-Fi calling is off. If I turn it on, it's going to tell me to select the Wi-Fi calling profile. So this is something that would have been set up ahead of time, and we'll have a separate video on just how to set up Wi-Fi calling. So I'm going to cancel on that, but that could be applied to it if you'd already had the rules set up. I could enable client isolation. I could force DHCP, enable OFDM is by default. I could set my BSS min rate either at 12 or 24 or none. And then I could set my client timeout. By default, it's 120. Multicast broadcast threshold is set to 5, but that could be changed as well. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel on this, and I'm going to go ahead and create the network. And it'll say adding network Foundry guest. Network Foundry guest was added. If I wanted to view that, I could click on View. That'll take me back to that particular network. If I go back to my networks, now I see that I have Foundry Guest, and I have one other network here called Awani Art Alto. So after a little while, that SSID should show up. So if I go to my wireless clients down here, I should be able to see that network in my list, and there we have it. And what we would do then is go ahead and connect to that network, put in my PSK password, and we would be good to go. So as you can see, adding a PSK network and setting up specific network parameters is easy to do with RUCKUS Cloud.